The following advertisement is paid for by Boston Scientific. Welcome to Local Spotlight, sponsored by Boston Scientific, advancing science for life.
You're watching Local Spotlight. I'm your host, Kat Cosley. Prostate cancer is the most common among American men after skin cancer, but there is some good news. With early detection, it can be treatable, and it's very important that you know all the treatment options. Joining us here to explain, in collaboration with Boston Scientific, we have Dr. John Van with Houston Metro Urology and patient and prostate cancer survivor, Christian Seeger. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
This is such an important topic to talk about, and I know statistics show, Dr. Van, that about 280,000 new cases will be diagnosed this year alone. Clearly, we need some early detection here, right?
Absolutely. I think that there are so many cases, and fortunately, most of those cases are detected early.
What is the prognosis when you have early detection for patients?
So as you mentioned earlier, Kat, the prognosis is tied directly into how early the cancer is detected. But for most men who have early detection for prostate cancer, the prognosis is excellent.
That is amazing, and I know that you are one of those patients.
Yes, I am.
And we are here talking today. Can you talk to us about your journey? Tell us a little bit about your story and the diagnosis.
Well, it's pretty straightforward. My father died of the disease, and he died probably because it wasn't detected early, and they didn't have the therapeutics that we have today. Mm-hmm. So that being the case, I was really on top of it, and the first indication of it was an increased PSA, prostate specific antigen test, and so that set me on it, and that was about 12 or 13 years ago.
So early diagnosis probably saved your life.
Oh, absolutely, no question about it. I wouldn't be here talking to you today if it hadn't happened.
Dr. Van, talk to me about some of the treatment options that are available for people that suffer from prostate cancer.
There are a wide variety of management options, everything from surgery, radiation therapy. Those are the two most common things. Hormone therapy, chemotherapy, and there are always experimental treatments on the horizon too.
Mm-hmm. Now, Christian used something that was called rectal spacing with SpaceOAR rectal hydrogel. What is that, and how can it be beneficial for some patients?
So SpaceOAR Hydrogel is a technology that was developed several years ago, and its utility is to create a temporary barrier between the prostate and the rectum. The rectum is part of the colon, and it sits right next to the prostate. Historically, in treating the prostate gland and cancer with radiation, we're always worried about organs that are immediately next to the prostate, like the rectum. And so what SpaceOAR allows us to do is to create a temporary region of protection between the prostate and the rectum, and that just allows safer treatment and fewer side effects.
That's amazing. And Christian, you had radiation therapy.
Right.
So how did SpaceOAR Hydrogel work for you?
Perfectly. I felt nothing either coming or when it was inserted or anything else. It was just as if it didn't happen, which is what they want.
Yeah, listen, my dad went through this too. He was one of those that didn't want to get treatment. So what would you tell someone when they go in and they get this diagnosis? What would you tell them, or even before that, to say go in and go get tested?
Well, I'd tell anybody, and this is somewhat contrary to the received wisdom, but I tell them to get a PSA test when they're 40, 45, 50 for sure. And if it shows anything, keep after it, keep monitoring it. And if the doctor says, oh, don't worry about it, it'll be all right, get a second opinion. I mean, I'm absolutely convinced that I'm here today because I acted upon what I found out with the PSA.
Wow.
Early.
Yeah, thank you so much for sharing your story. And Dr. Van, thank you so much for sharing this important information. As we know, it's important for all men out there. So it's also important that you talk to your doctor to find out what treatment options might work best for you. And if you want to learn more, you can just head over to spaceoar.com. Thank you again for joining us today.
Thank you.
And thank you all for watching Local Spotlight. We'll see you next time.
Local Spotlight has been sponsored by Boston Scientific, advancing science for life. The preceding advertisement is paid for by Boston Scientific.